Outside of work?
So for my job, I have to go down to Antarctica every year, and I usually go down for like a few months. It's usually around 3 months, but that can vary a lot. So that's obviously impacted my life because it's hard to be gone for that long. And it's always, so the summer down there is winter here, so I always go down. It's right around like Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, so I kind of miss a lot of that time with my family and friends. So that was always hard, but then now that when I'm home, this year I spent Christmas at home, and I just really appreciate being home and being with like my family a lot. I spend a lot of time with my family and my friends when I am home, and I think I just appreciate that time at home a lot more, especially during the holidays.
Become a scientist.
So ever since I was little, I really enjoyed spending time outside, and I really always wanted to know kind of more about the plants and animals around me and the environments around me. So I think that kind of led into me being a scientist. And then when I was in college, I started taking more classes. I took a lot of marine biology classes and environmental science classes, and I really got to like explore that more. And then I had one of my professors in college was a scientist, and she gave me a job in her lab, and I started working there and really saw like that science can be fun, and there's a lot of different aspects of it outside of middle school and high school where you have kind of your biology and chemistry and physics classes. So she really showed me like how fun it could be and the jobs that could come from it too. So I study both environmental studies as well as hydrology, and hydrology is the study of water. And so environmental studies I chose because, like I said, I really enjoyed kind of learning about the environments around me, the mountains and the ocean, and that kind of led to that. And then hydrology, the study of water, I chose because water is everywhere. Like, you can go to Hawaii, you can go to Alaska or Antarctica, and there's water. There's rivers and lakes and the ocean and snow, and everything is kind of connected by water, and I think I always thought that that was really cool. So that's kind of why I chose hydrology. My college experience, I loved college. Like I said, it's kind of the reason that I chose to be a scientist. And so I went to school in California, and I took a lot of marine biology classes, which I had never done. I grew up in Colorado, and we would go to the tide pools and look at all the animals there and kind of where they lived and how they lived. So I loved that, and I think the classes I was able to take in college really opened my eyes to the different types of science there were. Like, before college, I didn't even know that the field of hydrology existed, and now that's what I do for a job. So
Discovery.
My biggest discovery, so I study the streams down in Antarctica that come from the glaciers, and the streams down there look really, really different than the streams here. So they really only flow for like a few weeks to a few months every year, whereas if you think about the streams here, they pretty much always have water in them. They pretty much flow year-round. And then also the streams here have, if you picture like any of the streams in Colorado, maybe in your backyard or up in the mountains, they have a lot of plants around them. So they have grasses and trees and flowers all along the edges. But they also have that algae in the middle of the stream, which is like the slimy green stuff you see on the rocks. And so the algae in the streams here feed on both sunlight, makes them grow, but they also feed on the plants that kind of fall into the streams. And so the streams in Antarctica, they don't have any of those plants at all. They don't have any grass, there's no trees, there's nothing along the banks like you'd see here. So they look really different. But we discovered that they have algae in them just like we do here, and the algae there, even though it doesn't have those plants to feed on, it feeds on other algae, and it actually acts the same as the algae here in the streams. So the streams are pretty much the same, even though they don't have that food source of all the plants and stuff here, which was kind of interesting. We have a bunch of different equipment, as you can see around the lab. So for my personal equipment, we have a bunch of cold weather gear. We wear really warm hiking boots. We have like spikes on them to walk around on the ice, and then really warm jackets. And then for the streams, we have something called a pygmy meter, which measures how much water is flowing through the stream. So we'll stand inside the stream and put that meter in it, and it'll tell us how much water is moving by. And then I also use a lot of these sensors, which are just placed in the stream, and they measure dissolved oxygen, so that can tell us the health of the algae and when the algae are active and how they're growing. So I saw a leopard seal, which is pretty crazy, and those are seals that have these really huge teeth, and they're kind of like the meanest of the seals. They eat penguins and stuff. So that was kind of scary seeing it in the water, but that was cool. And then there's like penguins everywhere. And then I also saw something called a sea spider, which is like, it looks like a giant alien. Kind of the most fun ones are like penguins and seals, and there's orcas everywhere. But then there's other weird like smaller animals too that you would never find here.
Research important.
Our research is important for a few reasons. It's really important to study a variety of environments. Even though I live in Colorado, we can't only study the streams in Colorado because that doesn't really tell you about the rest of the world, and so it's really important to have a broader picture of how different environments work. And this environment in Antarctica is kind of one of the most extreme environments you can get to in the world. So understanding how the algae live there, even though it's below freezing most of the time and there's no water, can tell us a lot about life on Earth. And then also, in terms of climate change, Antarctica is one of the areas that is most influenced by climate change, and we're going to see pretty drastic changes into the future. So understanding how these streams work now and how the algae live there now will help us in the future to understand what's changing and how it's changing.
Is there any... Oh my gosh, I found the algae. Whoa, it's red. Let's put it in the cold room. I need to run back to the lab and do tests. Okay, I'll sit here and organize the samples. Where'd it go?
Hello? What escaped from the cold room? Okay, I'll get out of here as soon as I can.